Switching gears, gents, and talking about the latest transfer news around the Premier League specifically. Obviously, Man United are looking for a new striker. Erik ten Hag has been saying that for a while now. And Rasmus Hojlund seems to be the guy that they are really, really going after now. And they need it, right, Andy? I mean, we're looking at the big issue. They were the lowest scorers in the top 6 last season in the Premier League. They made the Champions League because of their defensive stability. But often they just wouldn't finish off chances, and that really hurt them. And Rashford is great, but they relied heavily on him coming off the left wing. Isn't always going to get he had a 30-goal season in all competitions last season for United. Mm-hmm. And then all the other attacking midfielders, it's great to have them, but they need someone to finish off. But Hojlund, he's a young player. Is he worth this big money move that they're talking about here? And is this the sort of Man United tax that Atalanta are putting on him? He's a very talented young player. But it seems like to me that they're only going for him because they can't get Harry Kane this summer. And they're going for a younger player that can develop and maybe overtake or play alongside Kane in the future if they can get that deal done. Maybe next summer on a free. But I don't know. I don't know what to expect. We know Hojlund's a very promising player, but if it's him or someone else, United clearly need a new number 9 to help ease that burden on Martial and Rashford this season.
Yeah, this is bad for Manchester United. This is what they've been doing for years, is they have target 1, they have target 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and they miss out on 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, and then they get down the list and they convince themselves, all right, because we have to sign somebody, this guy could be the guy. And knowing what they have to pay to get a center forward of any age, of any caliber, of any notoriety from around the world, to your point, Joe, because they are Manchester United, they just do it. And I guess at a certain point you have to sign someone to play in the position, and so they're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place. But the pressure that you put on a player in that situation, a young player, going to a new league, a new country, a new team, a team that is still has a new coach for all intents and purposes and is still learning his system. There are just so many variables that get put into the situation that make it complex and difficult and even unlikely that a young player is going to come in and succeed. I mean, if you're not Erling Haaland, and there's not many more, I'm trying to think off the top of my head, very young strikers that come into the Premier League and just score right away, then you're setting yourself up for disappointment, I think. And that's what Manchester United have done in the transfer market time and time again, especially at the center forward position. They're far enough down the list that they're going to sign Hojlund, who probably turns into a great player, but he's not going to turn into a great player at Manchester United. He will have a year or two there. He'll go out on loan. He'll get sold for a third of the price that they probably paid for him, and he will be kind of a post-type superstar somewhere else, and he will have a really nice career, but it won't be for Manchester United. And so whatever it is about United that they can't get the big deal done, they need to figure it out, because that is the caliber of player that they need at that position at this time to make the jump that they're trying to make, not a 20-year-old who is probably 2 or 3 or 4 years away from being at his best and will be very good. It's just, it's wrong player, it's right player, wrong time, I think, for Manchester United if they end up with Hojlund.
Yeah, and you mentioned Erling Haaland. There has been a comparison made that he is similar in player, but obviously there's only one Erling Haaland, right? So I feel like that's a bit unfair to Hojlund at this point. Nick, there's another young player that's talented that could be on the move to the northwest of England, and that's Romeo Lavia from Southampton. Liverpool now look like they've been in negotiations with Saints. Obviously, they've recently been relegated, so they know Saints probably want to cash in on him now. And Lavia, teenager still, but the likes of Chelsea, Arsenal have been chasing him. Really impressive in his first ever season in the Premier League. On a poor Saints team, the amount of times he'd win the ball back and then use it well. And he basically shadowed Fernandinho for years at Manchester City and tried to become that player. And Man City do have the option to buy him back from Saints next summer, but for a substantially smaller fee than Saints are trying to sell him for this summer. So Saints do want to move him on. It looks like it could be around $65 million. For Liverpool, it kind of makes sense, right? I mean, they've seen him in the Premier League. They know they can plug him straight in there. And they've lost Jordan Henderson to Saudi Arabia, and looks like Fabinho is going to complete that move as well. So Jurgen Klopp is kind of a smart move and feels like a kind of player that, yes, he's inexperienced, but this is kind of fitting a need for Liverpool this summer. So what do you think about this move if it happens?
I guess I'll be the one who kind of flips this on its ear a little bit. I'm not sure about it. I
Oh,
love watching him play. I'd love to see him in the Premier League again. I think plugging him into Liverpool or a club of that size is asking a pretty significant question of a kid who is still very much a kid. I don't mean to have like a little bit of the, well, why didn't Man City just keep him vibe? But there's a little bit of that in there, even though we saw so much special from him last season. And look, I'm starting to wonder. We've seen some questionable development out of young players at Liverpool. I mean, it took Harvey Elliott some time to find his stride. Fabio Carvalho is going out on loan. Remember what was Sepp Vandenberg, right? Remember him? He was going to come in and be Van Dijk within a couple of years. And not to say that can't happen to center back. That takes some time, but I just don't know. I think he's a fantastic player. I think Liverpool is going to be very good this year. There's something about the fit that makes me wonder, though.
Yeah, I mean, Curtis Jones as well is another good option that has come on at the end of last season. So midfield's going to look very different, though. Alexis McAllister in there as well. They need some defensive stability, and maybe even Trent Alexander-Arnold played in that hybrid role, but maybe he goes into a more midfield role to help Liverpool out there from the start of the season. But Lavia, having watched him closely as a Southampton supporter, one of the better players, if not top 5 all time for Saints, I think, alongside Van Dijk.
In one season.
And Sadio Mane. Yeah. It was a very poor Saints team, so he didn't have a lot of help around him. And the fact that he played that well, and it seemed like every opponent, manager or player, he was the first player they'd speak about, and Arteta, etc. Huge fans. So he's going to go somewhere big in the Premier League. And it will be interesting to see if Liverpool snap him up for sure.
Hi there, I'm Rebecca Lowe, studio host for NBC's coverage of the Premier League. Don't forget to hit subscribe to watch more videos all season long. For even more Premier League content, from original series to live matches, head over to Peacock and be sure to tune in for Premier League mornings every weekend on USA Network and on Peacock. We will see you over there.